Hey guys, welcome to Grips to Poker Training, where we teach you how to get stacking. Today we are on episode 20 of the season, pretty big deal, and in honor of that, starting next week, we are going to be doing daily $20 free rolls at Betfair. So if you want to participate in those, you guys know how to open up your accounts. We've got links on all the videos, and we'll be giving out the password during the daily broadcast so that you can participate in those free rolls and start building that bankroll. Anyway, we are going to be playing 4 tables of 4ML today. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the feed over to Joe so we can get started with the show. Hey Joe, how you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So I see we're playing on Betsson. Good site. I think they're a publicly traded company out of Sweden. And from talking to some people who have worked in the poker industry and were formerly part of the on-game network, they said that Betsson is one of the most reputable companies trading in like the on-game network. So it's one place that the money's definitely going to be safe, unlike some of those smaller skins out there. Have you ever heard of like Poker Loco or Goal Win
No,
or
no, no.
Hey Poker?
No.
They're legitimate sites. You know, they have the same software and stuff. And they do a good job with rakeback and promotions, but the problem is there's not a lot of financial backing behind those sites. So anytime you play on them, you will get like a super sweet rakeback deal, but you're risking the site going under and your funds getting confiscated, which, as we know from the whole full tilt ordeal, would not be a good thing.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with poker? How long have you been playing for?
Well, I've been on-off playing for about 2 years. Actually got into poker a few years ago. The story of how I got into it's quite funny. I used to be in the army. I had a friend who played quite a bit, and we got sent out to Afghanistan in 2007. And while I was away at sort of these fairly dire forward operating bases, he was sat in a big American air base just grinding in underground cash games for about 3 months against, the French soldiers, American soldiers, and he made quite a bit, and he kind of got me interested in it, and but then my kind of interest waned off a little bit, but I got back into it about a year and a half ago. Started playing live, fairly small kind of tournaments, casino tournaments, and doing okay. I've mainly been a kind of sit and go / tournament player, with decent success. I think my in the money percentage is something like 34%, so not too bad. But but yeah, I'm trying to make the transition to cash games, and I found it quite challenging. It's obviously a different kind of mentality you need, so I suppose I'm looking for a few pointers.
Right. Different mentality and a slightly different skill set. For what it's worth, let's click always post blind on all 4 tables so you'll stop getting that somewhat annoying pop-up for you. There's nothing worse than posting the big blind, timing out on the, like, do you want to put small, and then it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
You pay almost full price to see, like, 5 or 6 hands. Okay, and which do you prefer between sit and goes and MTTs? Because I know that they play somewhat differently.
They do, yeah. I think my preferred, probably my preferred is sort of small to medium-sized MTT. So anywhere between 300 and 1,000 people online, would probably be my preferred kind of range, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I think I quite enjoy the putting people under pressure, forcing them to make big decisions.
Right.
Having that, whereas you don't really get the same. You can't really do the same thing in cash games.
Yeah, you can put people to a much bigger test due to the fact that they can't reload in a tournament. So
absolutely, yeah,
you can get a lot more fold equity in the MTTs than you can in the cash games, because people can't just be like, all right, it's a cooler, whatever, I'll reload. And I noticed that the farther you get into a tournament and the more time that people have committed to playing that tournament, the more fold equity you're going to get as well, because people are like, wow, I've been playing for like 3 hours. I definitely don't want to do something stupid and
No,
bust now.
absolutely. I mean, the amount of times that you just shove with complete air on a scare card, and everyone just sort of folds, even if they've got an ace half the time because they'll
Yeah,
think they're out kicked or something.
yeah,
Is yeah, but obviously you have to be willing to bust out in order to
yeah,
win it.
for sure. If you're too afraid to put your chips at risk, you have no chance of doing well in tournaments.
Mm.
That's for sure. And I know people hate making a bad call to bust out of a tournament. Like people would way rather like be all in as a bluff pre-flop with the chance of having 30% equity, or even bluffing post-flop where there's a chance that the guy's going to fold and call in and being incorrect. Because when you make a bad call, you kind of feel like it's all on you. There's
Yeah.
no you can't really blame luck because you had the chance to get off the hook there.
Mm.
So on table 4, that would
Mm.
have actually been a good spot to fire a second barrel.
Right. Okay.
Because if he has a 9x or a queen x type hand, the ace is going to be a big scare card for him.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking probably fold now.
at this
Thinking,
point, yeah, we beat
yeah.
we beat a
Okay.
9x, which he's probably just going to check with.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've noticed is that I've probably still got tournament levels of variance. So I'm trying to sort of play a little bit tighter than I would perhaps in a tournament setting at first, I suppose, just to ensure I'm not losing too much. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I should have fired a second one there.
Mhm. Cash games are also about continuing to apply pressure in
Mm.
situations where you're going to have good fold equity, in situations where your opponent's range is going to be relatively weak for the board,
Yeah,
or polarized or whatever.
sure.
But I like that you said your sweet spot's 300 to 1,000 person MTTs,
Mm.
because the fewer players that are in the tournament, the more often you can actually win the thing and
Yeah,
make top 3. And you probably know from playing tournaments that the only way to make a long run profit in those things is to play a style that consistently gives you the best chance at making the top 3.
yeah, absolutely.
And when you're playing in fields of like 8,000, 10,000 people, the odds are just so far against you to ever do that.
Yeah,
And it's hard to,
yeah, you need a lot of luck.
yeah.
This round.
Okay. I see a tournament play there on table 1 too.
Yeah, yeah. Perhaps it's a bad. I think I'm probably forced to see that on that kind of board. I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Looks like you ran into something.
Yeah, he's one of those short stacks as well. He hasn't fold. Well, what do you think? Second barrel just as a bluff?
You could
Or
get
put
him
it?
off. You could get him off King
Mm,
X hands. I think mostly he has hands that aren't going to fold though, either an ace or a flush draw.
yeah. That's what I
We'll
told you about the. Oh, he's
find
checked
out.
again. I think I'll probably just show it down. I think.
Yeah, we don't expect to win, but we want to get some
No,
good
yeah,
flow
the
out of his
king.
hand.
Yeah, right.
So that might be one of the hands that we could have gotten to fold. It's
Yeah.
tough when it's your first hand with someone because you don't know a lot about their
Yeah, I don't
ranges.
have a lot of HUD information yet.
As the stats, your database builds up, that you're going to see what that guy's range is percentage-wise for calling pre-flop.
Yeah,
And if you see it's very wide, the ace high board's actually going to become a board where we can fire 2 shells on, because
sure.
he's going to have a lot of marginal hands. So their pre-flop calling range combined with their fold to c-bet frequency is going
Mm.
to help you determine what kinds of hands they still have in their range on the turn, and whether
Yeah,
or not it's going to be profitable to try to move them off, or if you can be like, well, he's pretty restricted to hands that aren't going to yield under any sort of pressure, so you can just abandon ship early.
sure. I told you about my HUD stats all over the place.
Yeah, I see that. It's weird because remember the old poker tracker, if you dragged a box on one table, it would move them on all the tables.
Well, that happened to me with Hold'em Manager. That's why I switched. I had the exact same problem with Hold'em Manager, where it would do that.
Well, I think that that trick that we talked about before the video, but of course,
Yeah.
implemented after. You set your preferred seat on Betsson or
Mm.
Betfair, whatever skin you're playing on, so that you'll always be on the same seat on every table. And then with Poker Tracker, you also configure that preferred seat. And you can do that on any network, on like networks like Stars. If it's six-handed or nine-handed, you're going to have to set a preferred seat for both of them. But at on game, since all the tables are like technically 10-handed,
Mm.
you only have to set it, do like one setting adjustment there.
Sure. C bet on 4, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You got equity in that board.
Oh well, I've
Better
got some.
suits.
I've got some pretty. It's a decent flop on table 1.
Yeah. Nice rev. Hopefully he has freaking King Jack or 10.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Oh, King Jack. There we go.
You needed it. You needed him to have that hand.
That one.
So your flop check worked out there. And against his stack size, I like that play.
Mm.
If it were against someone who is a bit deeper stack, though, I might be inclined to build the pot.
Okay. This guy so far has not been very. We've been limping a lot, so when he raises, it's kind of starting
Yeah.
to get out. I think.
Yeah. He's put in 32 cents. He's put in about a sixth of his stack.
Mm.
And at these limits, it's pretty rare that someone's going to three bet for, anywhere from 15 to 25% of their stack and then fold
Sure.
to a four bet because they're like, well, I've already put in 40 cents. It's only $2 to put the rest in. They're usually going to just go with it. So we don't want to be doing any sort of four bet bluffing really. And that hand wasn't strong enough to peel with.
Table 4, but I think I'm probably going to fold that.
Yeah, you could go either way there. Um, if you knew
Table,
him,
call in table 1.
okay.
Squeezing.
They're both pretty loose, so I kind of like a squeeze.
Yeah, kind of squeeze. Okay, I like squeezing. You sure you're not very good at tournaments?
You don't need to go quite that big though.
Right. Okay.
We'll discuss. We'll go with sizing.
Oh, there you go.
And that's the thing. If we had three bet to a smaller amount, he's
Mm.
gonna four bet with the same hands. But on the times where he does wake up with a hand and four bets us, we lose less. And I think
Sure.
he's
Okay.
folding just as often. So we're investing more money without really much of a purpose. We're not gaining more fold equity.
Yeah.
And we don't need to build the pot so large pre-flop to be able to get all in on later streets. Yeah, you got a double gut shot there.
Yeah.
It's fine. And if the other guy folds, we're going to have position. So on some rivers, we could take it away. Not the card we were looking for to move him off his hand.
No.
Did you catch the new bankroll challenge video?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What? Is there a new one that I've missed?
Yeah,
Or?
I've decided
Okay.
to move the challenge from Party Poker to Betfair because Party Poker was just pissing me off too much.
What was annoying you about it?
Well, the first thing was the hotkeys. Like, you know how here it's F1, F2, and F3.
Mm.
For there, it was like control left, control up, and control right, which doesn't really work for a hotkey. It's a little too much effort. Seems like more
Right.
of a
Okay.
long cut than a shortcut.
Sure.
And also, when I was trying to label my players, then when I would look in the lobby, I wouldn't see their colors, so it was hard to game select. And also, like, during sessions, sometimes the lobby would just like freeze up, or it would say a table had 4 people in, and then I'd open it. There'd be
And it was
six
full.
people or no
Yeah,
people, and
yeah. No, that happens a lot on that on party poker. Yeah.
yeah, like the software is just too slow to update. So it was irritating me a little bit, and I felt like that was going to affect my play. So I just
Mm.
said I'll move it to a site where I feel much more comfortable, and I know I'm going to play my best.
Jack nine. 3-bet in the sixes or just flatting with a pair out of position.
Um, I would rather 3-bet if I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that we hit a set. And the other thing is there are very few flops that are going to come where we're going to have like an overpair or something.
Mm.
So
Maybe the least variance is to fold them, I suppose.
yeah, fold or
Ah.
3-bet. If you think he's weak, go ahead and 3-bet.
Well, I mean, it just based on the fact he hasn't. I mean, obviously he's stealing, but he's again quite a passive player. So
Yeah. And like let's say he's opening the button with like 7-10 suited or something.
mm.
A hand that if we 3-bet is not going to call.
Yeah.
And then like on the flops that come, we don't know which cards he hits with. And he's going to be getting a decent chance to realize some equity on the flop with all these hands that it's hard for us to read. Whereas if we 3-bet and he calls, we've narrowed his range down a little bit more, so it's easier to read what types of
Mm.
hands he can has, and then we can therefore like play more correctly on the various boards that come out.
Sure. Okay. Queen 10. Start these HUD stats.
Yeah, Jack 9 you can definitely raise.
Say again.
I said the Jack 9 you can definitely raise.
Yeah.
Whereas the Queen 6 offsuit before I didn't really like because it connects with way fewer flops.
Okay.
The closer your hands are in rank, obviously, the more straight draws you're going to flop. You're also going to flop top pair more often with 2 high cards than you will with 1 high card and 1 low card.
Okay. Well, he's check raising, presume, because he's out of position.
You know, what's this guy's aggression? Is he a pretty fast player?
Oh, fuck that. Not particularly. I don't think.
Okay, I would probably either click it back and make it like 60 cents or fold.
Okay. Well, I've been fairly tight so far, so I'll pick it back and I'll see what happens.
Okay. It gets us control of the hand again.
There we go.
It's also cheaper than calling and possibly calling down 2 more streets.
Sure.
The main reason that I like the click it back there, though, is on a King 9-3. There are like no draws he can have.
Yeah.
And the hands that, and if he had like a king, I think he's more likely to check call than he is to check raise. So pretty much the only hand that he can have that he's check raising with that's a real hand is pocket 3s. Pocket 9s is also possible, but we have a 9. There's a 9 on the board, so the odds of him having pocket 9s are pretty low. So the first thing is on that board, you know, he's not repping a whole hell of a lot, and we want to punish him for that and go with the re-raise. We're turning our hand into a bluff, but he's going to be folding so often that it's a good play. And also, let's say he's check raising us with a gut shot or something. That's a hand that we can get him to fold by clicking it back. But if we just call, I mean, he's got the gut shot and probably 2 overcards as well. So that's 10 outs, which is going to improve on the turn about 20% of the time, and also on the river another 20% of the time. So that's a good amount of equity he could have that we would rather, you know, push him off of. and pick up that equity from him rather than giving him a chance to realize it.
Yeah.
If you have a hand that you're more comfortable calling down with, though, because if he has a gut shot, that's all he has. Like if you have like ace king or king nine or something where you want to keep his shitty bluffs in there because you just have such a lock on the hand and your hand's much less vulnerable, then just calling and calling down becomes a more viable option.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, with you.
I also noticed he's playing 55-23, which is pretty loose. So he's going to
Yeah.
be defending with a lot of hands, which means he's probably going to be trying to win pots when he gets into them. So he's going to be doing a lot of aggressive stuff like check raising.
Sure.
I think, well, we didn't raise pre-flop here on table 2, so again, it's a lot harder to put this guy on a hand
Yeah.
when we haven't done anything to define its range. But yeah, fold that. I'd take it to showdown because if he has a queen,
Yeah. There you go.
and we've checked back the turn, he's probably not going to buy that we have an ace and fold the river.
Sure.
If, however, we followed through on the turn and bet the river as well, then we can get him off a queen with 3 barrels there. But we made the decision to not commit on the turn, and that's fine. For what it's worth, if I were going to play the 9-7 suit, I'd like to see you come in with a raise. I know that there was a poster there, and that gave you an inclination to call because of the multi-way action, but
Yeah.
that guy's putting in a blind there with any 2 cards.
Sure.
So that's just some added value to the pot that we can try to pick up. We'll call it dead money.
Yeah. Well, I presume if I had raised, the queen 4 wouldn't have stayed in the hand. So.
You probably just would have won a pre-flop. And it always makes your hand a lot easier to play if you raise pre-flop on one hand because you have the lead, which means you can make your opponents fold when they don't connect, even if you don't connect. And also you just begin that process of narrowing down your opponent's range. You're collecting information so you can try to make the correct decisions on the later streets rather than just guessing.
Yeah. Go on table 3 limped and then called a raise.
Yeah.
So fine.
I mean, we can get them off pocket pairs and we can get them off some ace X type hands. We aren't going to get him off his broadways, though. I would probably abandon ship after he calls the flop. This is a board where I only really like to bet once on, unless the texture changes. Like if the flush came in, or a queen or a 10 came off to make a gut shot possible, you can apply more pressure.
He's opening quite a wide range, isn't
he? It's a vulnerable hand to be 3-betting out of position. This is a hand, in this situation, I would fold. Because when you're 3-betting out of position, you're more likely to get flat called by a person who's in position.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in position 3-betting and the villain is out of position, you're more likely to either see them 4-bet or see them fold to you. In general, people are going to be calling 3-bets a lot less frequently when they are out of position than when they're in position. So in those situations, having a blocker in your hand, like the ace that you did, or a king, is a lot more valuable because it's very unlikely they're ever going to flat. So the fact that your hand's extremely disconnected doesn't really matter. You're just playing the fact that you have position and you're going to have the lead in the hand. It's tough for them to connect in a 3-bet pot. When, on the other hand, the opponent is in position, they're going to be calling you a lot. You want hands that can connect with the flop well. So hands of flop equity. Big suited hands, big Broadway hands that can either flop top pair, can flop strong straight draws that you can play confidently. Hands like ace rag or like king 3 suited and stuff that connect with much fewer flops are going to be much more risky to play from out of position. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
ISO's cool if that's what you want to do on table 2. But yeah, that's again a tournament thing. You say the guy's opening a lot, so I have an ace. I'm going to 3-bet. And in tournaments, that's great. because again,
Yeah.
it's much rarer that people take a flop in tournaments than it is in cash games.
Hmm.
But since there's a lot of stack behind and people are more likely to call your three bets in position in the cash games, you wanna have hands that you can continue with on a lot of different flops, ones that are just going to connect more often. Because you got to look ahead. Tournaments are like it's pre-flop and maybe the flop and usually the hand's done. In the cash games, more often you're going to be seeing some turns and rivers, so you got to have a contingency plan for how
Yeah.
you're going to approach them. And if you start with a well constructed range pre-flop, it's going to make your decisions a lot easier post-flop.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously, yeah, getting the blinds is obviously a huge part of your tournament sort of repertoire, I suppose.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's something that I think I'll have to work on is not trying to steal every blind I come across with any kind of two cards, I suppose. Because if you do find yourself in marginal spots with difficult decisions to make more often.
Hmm. And I'm gonna release a nice video, I think Friday.
Mm.
For it's very applicable for people who are transitioning from tournaments to cash games. That's just opening ranges by position with two options. The first one's going to cover if you want to play the very tight, solid style, where the decisions are much easier post flop because you always have strong hands. There's a range for that. And then if you want to
Yeah.
play on the more loose side, like you probably do, or when you think you have weak opponents in the blinds, there's going to be a loose opening chart as well. And anywhere in between those two ranges is always going to be a good starting point. I would not fold that.
You wouldn't fold the queen ten.
No, the guy's playing really loose, really fast. And his hand
Okay.
flops well.
There you go.
Talk about flopping well.
Check raise.
um,
Bottom, well, middle pair. Flush draw.
yeah, that's fine. And just commit
Make it
yourself to
about
the
one.
call. Let's go 120, but do it quick before we time out.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, so we're flipping. We just need to
We've got
get.
equity though, haven't we?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have like 48% probably.
Yeah. Okay. Here comes the tournament play.
51. Your favorite.
Oh, two pair.
Favorite.
What did Jack? There we go.
Nice, got him. Got him.
Yeah. I've had to sort of. I've been trying to stay kind of tight, sort of math-wise, So try not to chase too many draws and stuff. I sort of found it's interesting. I've been tracking my, stats-wise. I've been tracking myself, and I'm doing fairly well. But it's not kind of translating in, results-wise, profit-wise. And so I'm just trying to play as sort of sound and solid as possible, and then trying to build on it slowly, I think.
Okay, that's a good approach. Keep it simple at first, keep it solid, and then start to expand slowly in different areas.
Yeah.
Because if you only try to add one thing at a time, it's much more likely you're going to do a good job of understanding that concept and being comfortable with it. Whereas if you just try to like revolutionize your game and add like 5 or 10 new things out of nowhere, you're going to be overwhelmed, and there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with all the things you've been learning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to help with that too. I'm going to try to do some more seminar style videos, like the old school videos I have up, because I think that's probably the best fit for doing that sort of adding one more dimension to your game at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, enjoy your older ones. I watched the sort of playing flop, playing turn, playing river one the other day.
Mm-hmm. Actually, those videos were some of my favorite ones to make. I think they could use a touch-up, though.
Well, yeah. At least 720p.
I don't even
But no.
think
It's quite, I watch them on the train on my way into work or whatever,
Yeah.
and yeah, good.
Cool. And what do you do for work?
Well, I work for the government at the moment as a kind of fraud investigator. So it's quite
Cool.
an interesting job. I suppose, and it's interesting because it kind of translates to poker quite well because you're having to try and work out what someone's up to.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. Ace eight. I'm in
Um,
position.
yeah. What's the guy's stats? He's
28-11.
okay. I wouldn't three bet it in that
Just
case.
flat call.
Yeah, it's between call and
Ah,
fold.
ah. He's unlikely to connect you with that.
Yeah, I still think we should bet though because if he has like two overcards and a gut shot, that's a hand that has pretty good equity against us that we'd rather just have fold now
Yeah,
and maybe improve. And if he wants to check call with his ace highs or check call with a small pair or something, that's fine too. We don't mind extracting some value there. Yeah, one topic I'm really interested in studying myself before I
is
teach it
sorry.
to you guys is range construction in all sorts of spots. Like in that spot there, we have a guy who's tight and kind of passive, and who
Mm,
opens the blinds. So how do we decide which hands we should call with, which hands we should three bet, and which hands we should fold? Because I think against every opponent type, the ranges are going to be slightly different, and there's going to be an optimal range against each different type of opponent. And it's
yeah,
just about figuring out which variables we need to isolate to determine which hands are going to go in there. Obviously, their aggression is going to factor in there. How wide they stack off is going to factor in there. How much they apply pressure, things like that. Probably, yeah.
cool.
No,
Fold.
probably fold.
Oh, sorry. Fold.
It's all right. I think 9-6 suited. You could argue it, but these junky hands just feel like nothing good ever happens with them.
Well, I actually won with nine high.
Guess you showed me
That's
what's good.
uh, I knew I should have bet that for value.
Yeah.
Was the awful kicker?
Yeah, and it's a four-way pot. Probably
Fold.
just fold for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's possibility of something bad happening behind you, you getting raised out. Also, the fact that he's betting into four people means he's going to have a
Yeah.
stronger hand than he would if it were like if it's heads up and you're blind versus blind there, for sure you're calling at least one bet.
Interesting on table one.
Yeah, this. Oh, and there's a call. Wow.
Yeah. I think I should probably get out while I'm.
Yeah, yeah. It's suited, you probably want to call. If it's heads up and you're going to have position there, that's a spot where you probably want to call.
I think I'm three betting the king jack.
What's against that?
75-50.
Yeah, you can three
Yeah.
bet for value.
Yeah.
You can also, we'll go with the three bet. The other option is since that guy's really loose, he's probably also going to be reasonably aggressive. So it's
Sure.
a hand that you could call with pre-flop with the hopes of catching some piece and then just check calling down and letting him bluff his stack away. Nope.
Should have bet.
Yeah, because if it goes check check, you lose a lot of equity,
Sure. Okay.
and it's a hand where you flop strong enough that you were willing to bet get it in.
Okay. So I should probably. I'm forced to check again, or
He's unlikely to fold ace high now, so yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But you want to continue with your aggression from pre-flop because there are some better hands he could have than you that you can make him fold on the flop right away.
Mm.
Also, there are some hands that may be beating you for now, but the board
Yeah,
will run out in such a fashion that you can blow them off.
sure.
Now here you're priced in, so you're gonna have to see the river.
It's a brick.
Just let it go. But if he checks back a hand like Ace Queen here, we can see why
Ace Jack, yeah.
betting would have been good. Yeah, like he never wins that pot if we bet the flop,
Sure.
and that's one of those better hands. You take him off of. Generally, if you're the pre-flop three better and you get a flop that connects with your hand and gives you equity, you want to continue to bet.
Yeah.
A big reason why three betting pre-flop is so profitable is that most of the time your opponents are going to miss the flop and they're going to fold to a C bet, but you need to be making that C bet.
Sure.
Even if you flop, just two overcards, that's generally going to be a good enough situation to fire on the C bet. That's a fold, yeah. I would say you probably want at least King 10 suited, if not even stronger, to call there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, mate, probably I'm playing a little bit too tight and passive, I think. I think it's, yeah, maybe I'm overcompensating for my normal tournament aggression by being too tight. Um, yeah, perhaps.
Well, it's all about the situations. Like at first you were opening a bit too wide, and now you've adjusted that well. So you're adjusting by position. You're opening wide enough, but not too wide and not too tight.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we have to defend versus three bets with a really wide range, because if we stick to a reasonably strong defending range, sure we're going to be folding to a lot of his three bets and he's going to be picking up our open. But think about the times when we call and we have a hand that's not going to fold and we get two or three bets out of him post flop. That more than makes up for all the times that we folded to his three bet pre flop.
Okay. Early, well, under the gun.
Guys,
No.
pretty loose. So.
3-bet
Um.
or call. Well, under the gun, you got to respect the under the gun. I
Yeah.
suppose.
We'll probably call.
Yeah. Well.
There you go.
Check.
That's the flop you were looking for. Yeah. We're going to be checking almost all our hands on that flop. Now we start building the pot. Hope that he was pot controlling an ace. I think he's going to have missed a lot, and just be giving up. But still worth giving it a shot. Slow roll folds.
Huh?
I was just laughing that he took so long to fold his hand there. It's not like he had a real decision. He's just getting our hopes up that we might get action. Isolate. So I'm curious, do you know what limits they were playing at those army games?
I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. But it's pretty funny. Because well, basically, gambling isn't allowed in the military because they don't want people owing each other money. Because it can cause problems.
Yeah.
And this guy's sort of boss got dragged in front of our sort of commanding officer.
Okay.
And told you got to stop him playing. He's addicted to it, and his boss just went, well, of course he's addicted to it. Everyone's addicted to winning. And no, he's a good player. It's a shame I'm not really in touch anymore. Same as earlier on, we're going to call with the eights, the under the gun.
Yeah.
As you did with the nines.
Yeah, and that's because the opener's range is really wide. If it were a tighter player opening fold, it could be okay. So who's this guy? Has he played a hand yet?
Okay.
He's been pretty tight.
Yeah, no, it's quite. I'd been running around for 3 months. Living in the middle of nowhere, and he'd just been grinding
Yeah.
for 3 months. Thinking to myself, got a bad deal here. You right to open with ace 8 here and the cutoff.
Yeah, the button's tight. That's fine.
One of the biggest differences I've noticed with tournaments and cash games, I suppose, is that it's all about your hole cards in tournaments, whereas cash games are a lot more because you're very deep.
Yeah.
It's a lot more selective. I think it's definitely that's a big leak for me. I think.
There's just a lot more variables going on in cash games and a lot more levels to deal with.
Yeah.
Nice flop.
Yeah. Yeah. I should play on Betsson more often.
So disappointing when they don't give you any action.
Say again.
I said it's so disappointing when they won't give you any action.
Yeah.
You work so hard to flop that set. They're just like, I got nothing. Take it.
How's Greg prep going?
I think it's going well. He got home from Europe 3 days ago.
What was he doing? The EPT or the WSOP Europe?
Yeah, he did WSOP Europe to try to maintain his Player of the Year status. But
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Helmut's after him, isn't he?
yeah, unfortunately, he had no luck. But if he wins the main event, he still gets Player of the Year. So it's a little bonus for him, little added value on top. But anything less than first place, he's going to come up short. But he seems very relaxed.
That's good.
He's enjoying watching the coverage, especially because he's on it a lot now.
Just like seeing himself.
Yeah, yeah. So every Tuesday night, we do a Skype call and watch the coverage together. It's pretty fun.
Is he back in the States now?
Yeah, yeah. He's back at home with his family and his dog. Uh, he's happy. He's definitely happy. Wow, you're running.
It's a lucky turn once again.
Uh-huh. Running hot. And an unlucky river.
Yeah, check that.
Hope you had a misdraw.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. All right, let's do one more round of play, and
Sure.
then if you have any questions for closing questions, I can field those. And I'm also going to just briefly analyze that pocket 8 spot you had,
Okay.
where we called the raise and then the guy squeezed all in.
Right. Okay.
I'm just going to do some equity calculations and show how to use Poker Stove. That's
Sure.
something that's also going to be very helpful in tournaments. Because I know you saw it as we have pocket eights, it's an automatic fold. And against that player, I agree. There are going to be some guys who, though, for their whatever it is, 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, are just going to be ripping it in there with whatever, a pretty wide range. And against a lot of them, pocket eights are actually going to be a clear call.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
Because we got to factor in their range for doing it and the pot odds that we're getting. So.
Start sitting out of a couple of these tables.
Okay.
See, at a tournament, I'll be 3-betting.
Mm-hmm. In this spot, I'd probably fold.
Yeah.
You're at
You can see my natural,
yeah.
my natural desire to go.
All right, that gives me another idea. Equity for pre-flop calls.
So. There we go.
Okay. Looks like you won a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. As I said, I've been maybe because I've been opening so wide, I've had a few bad results. It's interesting because obviously cash games, cash games are supposed to be lower variance, and yet my cash game bankroll will go up and down, as you can imagine, quite a lot. And I think it's because I've still got those tournament habits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because every time you open a pot, you're opening yourself up to variance because what's going to happen on each of the 3 streets that you play. There's going to be a lot of variance involved in that. So if your opening ranges are more selective and more tight and based on hands that you think can show a positive expectation, then each time you play a pot, odds are the variance is going to be working in your favor. And it's also going to be more limited because you're exposing yourself to fewer situations that involve variance, and therefore things are going to be a bit more steady.
Sure. Okay.
So proper opening range is a great place to start, and it's all about kind of just keeping yourself out of trouble. You want to be putting yourself into profitable situations while not putting yourself into risky, unprofitable situations, which is what happens when you open too many hands.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions before I just do the quick?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Joe. Appreciate you playing.
Thank you for having me.
And have yourself a good one.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Okay, we're going to look at some equity calculations in that spot with the pocket eights. So in that spot, we're facing an all-in bet of, I think, 152. And we had already committed, oh no, that's not what it was 128 was the all-in bet. And we already committed 12 cents to the pot. So the amount we had to call was 116. And with our dead 12 cents and the other dead 12 cents in there, that made 152 in the pot. So 116 to win 152. So to calculate how much equity we need, we add those numbers together. 152 plus 116 gives us 268. And we divide the amount we have to call by that total amount that we will get back if we win the pot. So 1.16 into 2.68 gives us 43.2% equity required for it to be a profitable call. So this is how we're going to use Poker Stove now. We put our opponent on a range and then figure out what hands we can call with based on those pot odds. So first let's take pretty tight range, which I think for the short stack guys who are just going all in, this is fair. Tens through ace queen. It's going to be the hands we're going to get in. So with pocket eights, we run the simulation, 37% equity. Not good enough. What about pocket nines? Still 37% equity. Not good enough. And you can imagine why those hands are close in value. They don't have any like extra. I mean, they're the exact same hand effectively against the opponent's range. Eights versus tens is going to have the same equity as nines versus tens, and there are no hands in this range where we go from having no overcards to one overcard or anything. So let's say we have jacks instead, 46% equity. That's greater than the 43% required. So if we had called jacks there and then faced a squeeze, we'd definitely be calling. What about ace 10 suited? 30%, not enough. Bump it up to ace jack suited. Again, not enough. Is ace queen suited even going to be a call? No. Ace king. Ace king, clear call. And I'd imagine ace king offsuit's also going to be a call. And let's see how king queen does in there. Probably not very well. Terrible. Okay. Now factors that can change that. If we're getting better odds from the pot because there's more dead money or the size of the shove is smaller, then we're going to need less equity to make a profitable call. And therefore hands that weren't a call in this exact situation may become a call. Now let's look at what has to change for pocket eights to become a profitable call. I mean, it's already fairly close, pocket eights against that range. Not quite there, but pretty close. So let's make the range look more like this. We'll add in some king queens and some ace jacks to see if that changes anything. Almost. It's almost enough for us to make a call. So if we think he's shoving 8% of hands there, damn. Close but not quite. Let's go 9%. I think that's going to become a call. Yeah. So we need our opponent to be 3-bet shoving 9% of hands for that to be a profitable call. And you can do this all day with Poker Stove to figure out which hands are going to be calls and which hands aren't. Like now we'll look at that range and see how jacks does against it. Way good. Ace queen's probably going to be a call now where it wasn't before. Way a call. Way a call. And the reason why is because now this second range has some hands that, while ace queen is still flipping with a bunch of them, it now has some hands that ace queen dominates. Ace queen versus ace jack and ace queen versus king queen are really going to boost up our equity in this situation. Let's see how ace jack does here. Even ace jack is going to be a call when we widen our opponent's range to 9% from the initial, I think we had like, yeah, it was about 6% before. So that is how you determine what hands you can call an all-in shove with. And that's going to be very useful in tournaments where, you know, you flat a raise and then you get shoved on. You want to know, well, what do I call with? Because you don't want to be making mathematically incorrect folds. So you just plug in what you think your opponent's range is. You can mess with it. You can type in 20%, drag the bar to make it quick, and just mess around with it. Do a lot of experimentation. If you see someone reshoves all in and they have, let's see, 9-7 suited, you can probably assume that, well, there you go, at 35% that comes in the range. So they're definitely going to be not just doing the top 20. They may not be as wide as the top 50, but you can find 35% because that 9-7 suited fits into the range. And you just kind of take the worst hands you see them show up with and then assume that that's kind of how wide the range goes. Like if they're shoving 10-3 off, it's probably safe to assume that they're shoving 10-4, 10-5, 10-6, 10-7, 10-8, and all those hands as well. So yeah, that's what that's all about. And in tournaments, you're going to be getting better pot odds in general. Stacks are going to be a lot shallower, so it's going to be less money to call, plus the dead money from the antes and stuff. It means that there are going to be a lot more situations where you may think that a hand is just like an auto fold because it doesn't seem like that strong a hand, but maybe you only need 30% equity or 25% equity or like 38% equity. And a lot of hands that at first glance you would assume are a fold are going to be a call against even some narrow ranges. So that's something to think about. That's something to experiment with. And that was the topic that I wanted to cover there. Hope you guys found that useful. Okay, so thank you to everyone who tuned in for the broadcast today. Appreciate your guys' support, and I hope you found the broadcast to be both educational and entertaining. So as I said before, next week we're going to be starting those free rolls on Betfair. They'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the passwords will be given away on the show, and only on the show. I'm going to type them in the chat. I'm not going to put them on the video. So if you can't make it to the broadcast, then you can't play the free roll. Sorry, it's just how it's going to be. But the free rolls run at the same time as the broadcast anyway, so it makes sense that you should be able to tune in if you're playing the free roll anyway. But yeah, that's going to be starting next week. We're going to do a $20 daily free roll for the week, and if the numbers are good, which I hope they will be, we're going to continue it for another week. If there's not enough interest and like only 10 people are playing in the free rolls, then unfortunately we're probably going to have to cancel them. So tell your friends, get them to open those Betfair accounts so that you guys can play in the free rolls and make sure that we continue them for a long time. If the numbers are good, we could stretch this thing out and get a lot of free rolls going. So you have nothing to lose, and your friends have nothing to lose, because you don't even need to make a deposit to play in these free rolls. You just need to open a new account through one of the links available below the video. And yeah, some free money. It's a free chance for you guys to build up your bankroll at no risk. So why wouldn't you do it? So that's it for me. I'm going to be doing one more broadcast this week. Hope to see you guys there tomorrow, Thursday at 5 p.m. If you haven't yet, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course, sign up to the mailing list on the site, because we're also going to be doing notifications about promotions through there. Okay. This has been Evan for Grips.com. Thank you again for tuning in. And now it's your turn. Go out there and get stacking.